Hey, welcome to the Explainer. This image you're looking at, this ornate locked gate, it's really the perfect way to think about what we're diving into today, the path to justice in Yemen. We're going to unlock the official rules for how you actually file a lawsuit, looking right at the country's civil code to see what it takes to get through these gates.
So let's say you've got a dispute. You need a judge to sort it out. What does it really take to get your day in court? As we're about to find out, it's not as simple as just showing up and telling your story. There's a formal path, and you have to walk it. The best way to picture it is like a gatekeeper's checklist. Before a court will even hear your side of things, you've got to pass through a series of legal gates. Now, these rules aren't there just to make things difficult. They exist to keep the system orderly and fair, and honestly, to stop the courts from getting buried under cases that just aren't ready to be heard. Okay, so our journey starts at square one. Before we can even think about passing through any gates, we have to know what we're carrying. In the eyes of the law, what even is a lawsuit? Getting this right is the foundation for absolutely everything that comes next. Take a close look at how Article 70 here defines a lawsuit. It's not just called an argument or a complaint. The law uses these very specific words, the legal and legitimate means to get a decision. That wording is so important. It basically sets up the lawsuit as the one and only formal, state-approved way to get justice.
All right, so with that definition clear, we've arrived at our first gate, procedure. This is all about the how. It covers the formal steps you have to get right just to get your foot in the courthouse door. This has nothing to do with whether your argument is good or bad yet. This is just about following the rules of entry. This is basically your procedural checklist, coming straight from the law. First, you file your case. Then, the court itself actually goes over it, looking for any mistakes, maybe a missing paper or the wrong form. If they spot an error, they give you a chance to fix it. But, and this is the key part, if you don't make that correction in time, that gate slams shut. Your case doesn't get accepted. Simple as that. Okay, so let's say you get past the first gate. Your paperwork is perfect. But the second gate looks at something even more fundamental. This isn't about the how, it's about the who. The court now has to check, are you and the person you're suing actually the right people to be in this courtroom? This is the gate of legal standing. Before a case can really get going, the court has to confirm that everyone involved has proper legal standing. It really just boils down to two simple questions. Do you have the legal right to even bring this case? And is the person you're suing the legally correct party to have to answer for it? And what about if someone is representing you? You can't just have a friend stand up and argue for you. Article 74 is super clear about this. Any kind of representation has to be formally set up through one of three official channels: a power of attorney, a legal guardianship, or a trusteeship. If you don't have proof of one of those, that person can't speak for you in court. Article 73 even has a specific note on how the system deals with foreign nationals. Someone who isn't Yemeni can definitely use the courts, but they're going to be judged by Yemeni standards for legal capacity, no matter what the laws are back in their home country. The court can even ask a foreign plaintiff for a financial guarantee, kind of like a security deposit, just to make sure they'll cover the costs if they lose the case. And this brings us to the court's ultimate power as the gatekeeper. Article 76 makes it so clear. A judge doesn't have to wait for the other side to object. At any point in the case, the court can, on its own, decide that someone doesn't have the right legal standing and just dismiss the whole case right then and there. Okay, so the procedure is correct and the right people are in the room. But that brings us to the third, and maybe the most important gate of all. This one really gets to the heart of it. The court now asks, what's your stake in this? Why are you really here? This gate is all about having a real, legally recognized interest in the outcome. This right here is one of the most basic core principles in Yemeni law, and it's from Article 75. La da'wa biduni maslaha. No lawsuit without interest. You can't sue just because you're angry or for the principle of the thing. You have to have a real, actual, legally recognized stake in how it all turns out. So what actually counts as a legal interest? Well, the law is pretty smart here, and it recognizes two different types. The first is what you'd expect, an existing interest. That means a right you have has already been violated. But, and this is really important, the law also accepts a potential interest. This is you being proactive. It lets you go to court to stop a future harm that's very likely to happen, or to protect crucial evidence that you're afraid might disappear. So imagine this. You've passed every single gate. Your case was heard, the judge made a final decision. You think it's all over, right? Well, there's one final lock on the whole system, and it's designed to make sure that when a case is over, it's really over.
This is a legal idea you see everywhere, sometimes called res judicata. Put simply, it means you don't get a do-over. You can't sue someone for the exact same thing twice. Once a court gives a final, binding judgment, that specific fight is finished. The system has to have this kind of finality to work at all.
So how does a court know if it's the same case? Article 77 gives us the super clear three-part test. For a new case to get blocked, it has to have the same parties involved, be about the same exact subject, and come from the very same legal event that kicked off the first lawsuit. If all three of those things match, sorry, that gate is locked for good. So after all of this, what does it all really boil down to? It comes down to this number. 1. You get one shot, one chance to bring your case, make your argument, and get a final decision. And that single shot is precisely why every single one of the gates we just talked about, procedure, parties, interest, is so incredibly critical. You have to get it right the first time because the whole system is built so there is no second time. So in the end, when you step back and look at it, these gates we've walked through, procedure, parties, interest, and finality, they're not really obstacles, are they? They're the framework. They are the structure that gives the whole legal process its meaning and its power. They're what ensures that justice is orderly, fair, and most importantly, final. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We've just walked through the gates of the Yemeni legal system. So what about your own? What are the rules and principles that act as the gatekeepers to make sure justice is fair and respected right where you live? Thanks for digging into this with us on The Explainer.